Hi everyone. Today we're going to do an action shot of a lion roaring. So to start with, make sure your pen has the amount of ink that it needs in the well. You should be able to see some of the black, but not fill up the whole well with a lot of ink because you don't want it to smear and you want to have some control over the flow. So we're using the brush pen today, and we want to make sure we know how to do the right pressure. So a slow, long, hard pressure will yield a very strong line. A quick, lightweight stroke will yield a medium to a light line. If you want to use the side of the pen, you just flatten it out just a little more using the side of the brush. On the tip, you will get a finer line. So we're going to use these different kinds of strokes when we're working with the drawing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very easy, light sort of beginning structure, like an armature or just something to put on the page so we can get our positioning correct and make sure we have enough room on the page to do it. Now that's going to be hard for you to see, and it's designed for you to be hard to see because I'm working with pen and I don't want to make it too dark in case I need to change it, but that's more of a ball shape. So I'm going to hover over that ball shape like that, see, and then gently touch the paper with it. Touch the pen to the paper when I decide I want that right there. Now I'm going to come along here with a line of action somewhere like around the spine, and I'm going to start dropping in a little bit of the form for this lion. I'm not going to commit myself to anything yet because we're just trying to find our place on the page and trying to find a quick sketch for positioning. And I'm already thinking of the bones and things like that on the the wrist joint and the toes, things like that. So we're not committed to the drawing 100% yet, but we're getting there as we come through and develop the armature. Even so though, with an armature you can still change your mind and move it into a different position if you want. Right now it's still very light. I'm not committed to anything heavy, but now I think I kind of got what I want here. So I'm just blocking in, okay? There we go. All right, I've got the basic shape I want. I've got to stand up. It looks like I'm running off the page here, so I'm going to reposition. Okay, that's better. I ran off the page on my tiger demonstration. I don't want to repeat it here on my lion. So now I've got it better. Actually, I can't see what I'm videoing because the apparatus that's holding my phone is covering the screen. So I can only peek around it. Alright, so now we're going to start blocking in some of the things for the head. Now I started with a ball, but that doesn't mean I'm going to end up with that ball because the lion's jaw is going to be much bigger and the face is going to be much more pronounced as we build it out. So the ball just got me a placeholder. Okay, now I'm going to bring out the muzzle. And when a lion roars, they crinkle up their nose. So you will see some puckering and some gathering of the skin around that face. Okay. And I'm molding out the cheeks right now, the muzzle that is. There's the zygomatic arch for the cheek. And I'm coming back in space here to fill out for the face. I'm going to bring out his brow a little bit. see, I'm starting to structure that head out a little bit better. Now we'll bring down that jaw to open that mouth. Now the way to do that, if I draw it real light, you have to be very careful, but you kind of imagine a line coming down from the lip, from the nose, like that, just barely arcing it like it's on an arc, because the jaw is going to hinge off of that arc. And then as you align the muzzle is aligned with the brow, the mouth. That jaw then is going to be aligned down here. See? Got to make it feel like it's connected there. See that? And as the lion opens that mouth, these muscles are going to bunch up here a little bit and crunch up around the face. The brow will often come down in a snarl, like a deep brow, so he's going to furrow his brow, and you'll see something like that. Okay, now I'm going to start to drop in the mane. The mane starts between the brow and the back point of the head. So it's halfway through there you're going to find the beginning of the locks of the mane. So in this case I will bring that up, sort of like a little sprout. And now when you build the form of the mane, go lightly around the head, through around the temples. Okay? Think of it as fullness, not flat. It's got form. Okay? It's got body, it's got form, it's got mass. And we get about 2 or 3 different layers. We have one coming under here, another one around the shoulder, and another one coming behind the shoulder for the larger males, and draping around the form of that shoulder. Okay, there. Once you've got that in, we can start working towards the back, and we do the flank a little bit. And there's the pelvis. Okay, so now let's go to the next step. We've got the armature, we've got a little bit of implied form dropped in here. We're going to start building up that face a little bit. So I'm going to come in here and now start dropping in some of that detail for the face. A lot of people get really sucked into doing the face first, but you can get lost on that. What you should be doing is getting the whole proportion first. Get that thing in first. Don't get stuck on romancing the face. That's going to come. Okay. And if you get stuck on somewhere, then go back to it. You don't need to drill on it right there. Just go back to it. So now we're pulling that muzzle skin back and we're building out the mass. Okay. Curling back and around. Now the teeth, you're not going to be able to see the canines too much except for in the lower jaw. The molars back there. But the canines, the big canines on the upper will come out, and the lower. And the incisors, which they have about 6 in the front, we're just going to lightly blot that in there. Okay, there. And they have large, I like to call it licorice whip lips. Just look at that. Just bring that down like that. Okay. Okay, now we're going to come back in and lightly work with that brush pen. Lightly. Because we're going to come back over it with a water brush. Okay, so we don't want to get too much ink here. I'm going to open up the nostrils. Okay. See some of that lip pulled back on the upper. And now I'm getting inspired to come in and drop in the eyes. Not slits, they have round pupils. And it's always beneficial to put a little dot of sunlight in the eye so it doesn't look deadpan. Okay. I've got some glare coming in on my lamp here. There we go. Can see it now. Okay. Okay. All right, now we're going to start shaping a little bit. And the mane seems to be the hardest part for people. The only thing I can say is make sure you get in some shadows and highlights and follow it as a curve. Don't make scratchy lines. You're going to get in and get out. Get in a little bit and get out. Don't linger in there or you will just make a big mess. Behind the ear, you will usually see darker hair and shadow. So we're going to do that here behind the ear. And a lot of that mane will come in front of the ear, so we don't need to make the ear super defined. Okay? The ear is in there, and we'll bring it out more as we go. Now, I'm tracking from this side of the skull around to the other side of the skull, and right about there is where my other ear is going to come out. Okay? With hair in front. All right. See, I'm going to imply that there's a form there around that jaw, around that shoulder. And underneath his beard. As we come underneath, I might even reverse the stroke going up because we're down here in the shadow. Okay. Now the ink, when we do that wash, a lot of this ink is going to be darkened, so don't kill it. Don't overdo it. All right, now I'm going to come in and drop in the details of the paw. We got, and we're kind of building out toes a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the pad of the foot, and the soles of the toes there. There's the wrist joint here, and the tendons coming down through the arm. We'll get to that. We're going to actually build that out a little bit later. There we go. Wrap now around behind the shoulder. The scapula comes down here. So we're going to see a little highlight. This is the scapula bone, the shoulder bone. Then it goes to the humerus. The humerus is the upper part of your arm, and now it's going to curve and come underneath. So we'll see this highlight running through here. Okay, and drop some of that behind the elbow, which is also called the olecranon of the ulna. We have a wrist joint. We have tendons, the forearm muscles. I'm not going to get into anatomy. It's too short for this video. I mean, it's too much for this video, so we're just going to come in here a little bit. Enough. You need to know just enough just to get the drawing done. And the serratus and the ribs, longissimus of the spine, the pelvis. There's a bunch of muscles in here. There's quadriceps, there's the tensor fasciae latae, there's a semitendinosus and the semimembranosus. We don't want to worry too much about it. We'll just grab the idea here, implied, okay, of a form that has all this amazing anatomy underneath it. Okay. Keep the tail lively and light. Do not overwork it or it'll be dead. It'll just weigh down and look like a broom. Okay. We're going to push that leg back just a little by implying that there's form and a shadow and cast shadow. Okay, I'm going to come in here on the mouth. Do the lower incisors there. And that's enough. I'll come back later on that. Okay, working on the mane just a little more. Keep it lively. It has a pattern to it. Make sure you're moving around the bones and around the head. You're not making it flat. Okay, I think I will probably stop right here with the heavy brush pen, and I'm going to now go to my water brush. The water brush tip is about the same size as the brush pen. This is considered large. I got a set of 3. I got these on Amazon for like $7 for the whole set, so it's a good deal, and you fill it up with water. All right, now try not to muddy it. So we're going to start light. Make sure you have your paper towel handy so that you can pull off some of that. Get some water on there. Pull off some of that excess ink if it gets a little out of control. Now, the light part is going to be your highlight. So now I'm going to, see I'm getting a little bit muddy in there. I'm going to take some of that ink off. And I'm going to use the runoff here a little bit to help establish a little bit of form. I can always come back in here and drop in a little more ink if I need to. Okay. Coming into the mouth now, I'm going to work on the tongue. Don't overdo it because I'm going to come back in here and detail that tongue a little bit more. Okay. Just sort of getting a feel for it. You can move around the drawing a lot too. You can move around it, see what emerges in what your inner instruction is telling you. Maybe it needs more of this over there, needs a little more of that over there. What you'll do is eventually be able to follow the drawing intuitively instead of just going head to tail. I'm darkening in under that brow. And over the eyebrow here. And I'm going to push the eyes back under out of the sun just a tad. Some of that ink and water right there. I'll follow around. The far side will be a little bit darker, ideally, if you have the sun in a perfect position to help push that form a little. So I'm just going to push that out just a little. And it's okay if I come outside the lines. We're not doing a coloring book. We're trying to imply action and get a feeling for this and not make it so tight that it loses that free-flowing gesture. This is the fun part, coming in and doing a nice wash over the work. Keep wiping your brush frequently as needed. I'm going to come back in here and work on the top part of that mane, but right now I don't want to needle it too much. I don't want to noodle around in there. I want to just sort of grasp the whole thing. Just keep moving through the gesture and see what will pop out for highlights, what needs to be shadowed, because we're pushing the idea of a form. You push the idea of a form. You're on a flat piece of paper, but you've already lost three-dimensionality because you're drawing it on a paper. You know, you're not making a model. So in order to bring dimension back, it's already once dead, it's twice dead, but it's you have to push the idea of a form. Okay, for volumetric shapes, it's what they look for in studio portfolios for animation. How you know the form. Okay, I'm going to come back in here with some more ink there. I'm running thin. Squeeze my water brush. I borrow some from over there. Now I'm going to blur my eyes just a tad so I can watch and see how that form is going to move. I have to see where that sun's hitting on the different planes. And sometimes blurring your eyes gives you a better idea of what light and dark is actually doing on the sheet. I'm going to make that as a shift in the form there away from the sunlight. Grabbing some of that ink. See, I'm borrowing from another part of the drawing. There's the flank. And I'm going to drop that down just a bit more. Yeah, it's starting to feel better. Under the knee moves away from the sun because it's moving back, and the lower part of the leg is going to be a little darker than, let's say, the thigh or the pelvis up above where the sun is hitting. And we're going to lighten a little. As the foot comes out from under the animal, we're going to see a little more light on it. And make a plane change across the front of the toes where it moves away from the sunlight. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my pen, my wonderful pen. I'm going to come in here and start just adding a little more depth. See, this is what's fun about it. You can just come back in and you can play with it just a little. Don't kill it, don't overwork it, but you can get in to enhance it here and there. And I think I'm going to drop that in like that, just a little, to thicken that mane, just make it a little more thicker and lively. I'm going to need some more shadow here, a little more here, and under here. Grab my water brush and drag that through. See there? There, that feels so much better. Pulling that form out of that shape. There we go. And down here a little more. Okay, now I'm going to drop a shadow in. I think, oops, I want to do a little more on that head. That forehead feels just a little too flat up there, so let's shape it. There we go, shaping. Dropping that ear in there just a little more. There. Also, by pushing that mane underneath a little more, you make that jaw come out just a bit more. That's why I say don't tackle it all at once. Work around and see how it begins to emerge. You'll know, you kind of look and see. You might want to watch the video a couple of times and try a couple of attempts. It'll get easier because every time you go through it, you'll grab more knowledge and information. It'll start to sink in. Okay, now I'm going to add some whiskers. Oops, I want to come up here and just blend that in a little. Okay, now I'm going to just touch up here and there. Okay, add some whiskers and we're done. Lightly, 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 super light. Some eyebrow hairs, some curled back whiskers. Don't overkill it, just a little. Just enough. And your guy is done. Let's drop in a shadow. Shadow always makes it feel like he's not floating around in space. Okay. There. Push that back just a little. Into the background there. See that? Little dust he's kicking up. Okay. And you're done. Almost. Create a little bit of a top line there. There we go. There, now he feels so much better. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. There's more coming. I'll eventually be doing and selling DVDs full of instructions on animal drawing and motion studies and dynamic movement. Have fun. Be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye.